Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Moorish America. Want to rise upon the 7. Give all praises to the great God, Allah, our Father God, Allah. And honors to His holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to give honors to our ancestors for constantly setting out or mapping out, the special pathway to our liberation, and all of those who are here to uplift fallen humanity and help free our people from the worst form of slavery that we have ever suffered from, and that's mental slavery. And we know that if we free our mind, then everything else will follow. So we come forth again with another grand drawing, in our late night library, archives and wisdom. We wanted to make sure we give the grand title on this one right here. And this one actually dealing with, John the Harbinger, basically of he whom is to come. And we already know that we're not dealing with the exoteric, but we're dealing with the esoteric aspect of these messages. So we want to give honors to our family, as we go into this special drawing in our late night library, archive, and wisdom session. Like we say, we chopping them down. We working on it, family. We chopping them down a few minutes at a time. And this is going to be very fulfilling as we go into this special measure. We're going to go deeper into the text, God, man, the word made flesh. Again, for those who are just tuning in, this is more like a late night book club, drawing that we demonstrate. And we're going to be dealing with many different books, so you can make these things useful to yourself in many different ways, just by being able to be informed, but also being able to receive, extra insight to elevate our family. If you notice, the banner that we have going across the bottom of the screen, if you look closely at it, it states to us, Matheno, right? He is the one that taught the harbinger and explained to him the inner meaning of what we call the cleansing rites, you see, and how to wash himself and how to wash the multitudes. Now, many of us may be thinking about washing a physical body or washing ourselves. You know, Noble Drew Ali teach the Moors to keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water and so forth and so on. But this goes a little deeper when we get into, you know, the esoteric aspects, you know, and how these things apply across the board in the lofty, you know, dimensions of the teachings. And it just goes to show you how when you get into the adept teaching, you know, how well this thing has to do with going deep into the knowledge of self. And therefore, we have the knowledge to be able to heal ourselves, you know, and we become our own physician, so to speak. Not in the sense that we're working in a hospital or we need tools to work with, but we actually become, you know, our own master surgeons. And we have been given tools that we use in the workshop of the mind where thought is used to build character. So I want to give honors to my brother Bay Brothers, you know, out there demonstrating peace and love, family. You know, gratitude for you showing up, and gratitude to all of our other Moorish American Muslims that also, you know, show up with us. We're gonna go a little deep into what we was demonstrating last night. And again, we coming from, you know, the text referred to as God, man, the word made flesh, you know, his doctrine, you know, of divinity being demonstrated here. And it actually true doctors, you know, took part in writing this particular work. You know, it's an esoteric work, and it's good that one can have a knowledge on how to heal the self. So this is going to be a powerful demonstration, family. Peace and love, Sultan Karas. You are welcome. You know what I'm going to do too? Just for good measure, I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to throw this link in here for our family if anybody would like to come in early. You know, all is well from the onset. And we'll go through this particular work. You know, we always open this measure up. You know, all are welcome. You know, in here, like I always tell our people, you ain't got to worry about nobody cursing you out. You ain't got to worry about nobody throwing you out because of your opinion. You know, you ain't got to worry about nobody getting mad at you, emotional. We don't demonstrate like that, family. And like I said earlier today, true integrity is demonstrated according to the ability of being able to demonstrate decorum, you know, when you have control of your panel. You see? Not just when you are at the mercy of someone else, but, you know, when you are in control of your panel. You know, so that's what we're going to always show. We're going to always demonstrate that. And that's what we ask for those who would like to come forth as guests. You know, that's the only thing. We don't care if you disagree, or we're going to let you speak and give you drawing. So what I'm going to do at this particular time, we're going to dive right into our subject matter. We're going to jump right into drawing God, man, the word made flesh. And this is starting with John the Baptist. Now, this ain't dealing with the John the Baptist that y'all normally know. You know, peace and love, Cali Cuz, peace and love, Charles Warrior. Yeah, we at it again, family. All the brothers showing up tonight. Yeah, we just dropped the link in there for our family that want to join us. You know, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Dealing with this particular drawing, so that we can really wake our people up. I want to go somewhere before I go into, you know, the actual text itself, because this will actually tie this measure into what I was demonstrating last night. All of it does, because, you know, what we did last night is basically the chapter before this one. So I want to go into this special aspect here. Hold up, let me make sure that I'm sharing my sound along with this as well, because I know sometimes I be making a habit of not having my audio on, my system audio. So we're gonna make sure we got that involved too, so that our family can hear this. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So I actually had something that I put together, and like I said, I'll be bringing little presentations on the manifest myself, you know, and we just talking about the process of. I want to show what takes place dealing with the body on one aspect, and then we're gonna go deeper into this. We all know that it takes food, and liquids in order to keep the body replenished. As you can see here, if we blow this up, we see in this chain that we have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and all of these things, are converted in an energy cycle that deals with, the same energy that allows us to be sustained. We understand the nature of breathing, is really the taking in, of clean oxygen, so to speak. And the exhaling process is where we release, you know, basically when we release carbon dioxide, so to speak, right? So this is a process, but in conjunction, the eating has this measure where there's a mixture with the good oxygen that's being brought into the body. You often hear me talk about, the process of the veins that go around the spine, how the blood and the oxygen is flowing, and when the blood and the oxygen is purified, then the minerals that you are taking in is enriching, your very being, so to speak, right? Now, we already know a pie ain't really good for you, but, this is what they have up here. We just deal with food in general. You want to eat healthy things, wholesome things, but for, the sake of the picture and giving us the exact process that's taking place, all is well. So, after one ingests, these different things, and they are converted to different molecules and broke down and, dispersed throughout the cell, the mitochondria and all of that. This is where we get our energy source from. Now, on a higher level of vibration, if we look at the plant itself, and we was talking about this last night, and we were talking about cellular respiration, because that's where your energy come from. We're going to get into this before we go into the portion in our chapter. When you deal with the plant itself, it goes through, the cycle of what is known as photosynthesis, right? Light, enriching the plant, this plant dispersing all of these minerals down to its very roots. We see that the carbon dioxide goes into the plant. On the outside, oxygen is coming to purify, the atmosphere, so to speak. And this is what we should be breathing in. So a lot of people don't know plants and trees contribute to the type or the quality of the oxygen that we receive in the body. This is all dealing with cycles. So this shows how we work with each other. So be careful when you just feel like you want to go pull up something, when it comes to pulling up the roots. The earth has been depleted enough, so to speak. But light and energy is vitamin D, going into this special plant. We know without the sun, the plant, it can't expand, so to speak, enough in order that the nutrients may be able to travel down to the roots, or that the seed may be able to come up from the rich soil that you may be able to plant it in. You know what I mean? It takes some moisture and all that right there, with the light. The darksomeness of the earth is the essence from which the seed unfold, according to our Moorish Holy Quran. But also sugar, is a measure that come out. This is where you're getting into the energy, in the plant, so to speak. You see, and we see that the water goes all the way to the base, and saturates the very base, where it can pull it up through the roots. If the soil is good. Because if the soil ain't good, then, ain't no need in planting no seed. Ain't nothing coming up out of this barren land. So this is the daytime process. Then you have the cellular respiration process that takes place, even in the plant realm. Well, you see the moonlight now hitting it, and now you see oxygen going in instead of oxygen coming out. So this plant is acting somewhat similar to our body. And then you see the CO2 coming up out of it. So it's purified, the plant, so to speak. So that this plant, again, may give off, that which brings purity to the quality of the oxygen that we deal with. That's just dealing with that aspect. So you mean to tell me intelligent design didn't have nothing to do with that? Come on, man. Scientists will talk about it, but they don't want to get into that aspect. So again, you see now the sugar, in this cycle coming back in, and this is closer to what takes place with us, and this is how we get our energy. This is dealing with the cycle of cellular respiration. So cellular respiration, we find, is a form of dealing with, really, we can say, holy breath. So it says cellular respiration releases carbon dioxide and water, which plant cells use to make glucose. During photosynthesis, oxygen is released. So during photosynthesis, the oxygen is released. We breathe in the oxygen, and at the level of our being, cellular respiration, we are able to take that pure oxygen within the self and then release those things that are harmful. Now, when the quality of our oxygen goes low, then this actually makes it hard to have a pure or a high quality of the air that we're breathing in. A lot of people like to call this contamination within the environment from pesticides and y'all know everything else that you breathe in that's harmful to the body. That causes us not to be able to release the carbon dioxide. Because the last thing we want to do is this stuff build up in the body. Because that ain't good. Then we end up having an ammonia-like environment, and we know what ammonia would do. If we take it in, the body begins to poison itself and everything else. But nevertheless, so you have CO2 and H2O water. You see? So we can see that this cycle going again to the plant, chloroplast, right? Chloroplast, is the plant version or housing, or we can say manufacturing plant, just as the mitochondria is to the human body. So when we take from good plants, they give us minerals that oxygenate the blood, and then we can therefore have a grand charge of energy, ATP. They again gave the same process of showing you photosynthesis, which makes glucose and oxygen, which is a plant and animal cells used to make ATP. You see? It says cellular respiration releases carbon dioxide and water. So when you have proper cellular respiration going on, carbon dioxide is released from the body, and so forth and so on. Water is properly dispersed, as well in regards to dealing with the cell. Yeah, the plant cell, and even though they saying animal cell, they really talking about the human. We ain't gonna get into that aspect there, but that's just another measure. And so these are the cycles that they are talking about. And they start again, with the glucose dealing with 6 carbon atoms, so to speak, right? Then you have the H12, the oxygen 6, hydrogen 12, oxygen 6, and this is a combination. This is where your mathematics come into play at, you see? We can see 24 right here if we add everything up together and deal with some gematria, you know, and 2 and 4 is 6 again. But anyway, so this comes into what we call glycolysis in the cytoplasm, right? And this is 2 ATP, which is energy. See, a lot of people that work out, you'll hear them talking about this NADH, and then these two together make 4 ATP, 2 net. This is stage 1. But then it continues, to differentiate, and it becomes a pyruvate. On both chains, you got 3 carbon atoms or molecules that are splitting. You see, and then they come back together. Again, 2NDH. You got your CO2. Which is again going back to all of those things that deal with your minerals family. So as you continue to go on and deal with this, you can see how we move up with more energy, and then you have what you call the Krebs cycle. This is stage 2. And I want y'all to look this stuff up on your own. Oxidative uh, phosphorylation. Also, this is 34 ATP. Net harvest 38 ATP. Sometimes you'll see 36. That's 12, 12, and 12. But nevertheless, this is the 3rd stage. And then the cycle, it's completing itself if the body is healthy enough. Now what is the significance of all of this that I said when we get into the esoteric science that connect to all of this here? Because we talking about, clean oxygen. We're talking about being able to take in this clean oxygen and cellular respiration. Cellular respiration takes place, in regards to dealing with the cells, being properly oxygenated, and being able to be healthy. If not, they die. Just like if you somebody suffocate you, or you suffocate somebody, they die. It is the same thing that happens if we're not getting the proper quality of oxygen in the body. All of our illnesses that take place, having to do with a lack of oxygen in most cases. What is a stroke? A lack of oxygen to the brain. What is a heart attack? A blockage that causes, the heart itself not to be able to receive the proper oxygen. But what does that come from? Well, the blood is not properly oxygenated, right? So if you know about the body, you already know this stuff I'm talking about. But if you don't know it, you definitely gonna know it, and you want to know it. So on a higher level, because we're talking about a cycle, and if you notice this cycle, is it's a cycle. At every level, it's a cycle. But there's a draw in dealing with this, and what you're gonna see about this Krebs cycle. I want you to pay attention to this. We're gonna go into some deep science real quick. Remember how I was telling you everything that is in the heavens, as it is above, so it is below, as it is within, so it is without. So I talked about the scimitar, earlier today in one of my bills, and in many other lessons I demonstrate that rotate around the polarises. The polarises, or the pole star, is a star of navigation. But on a higher level, of self-mastery, the pole star actually represents your crown, the soft spot in the head, right? In meditation, when you understand that there's a spiraling or a swirling energy above the head, that there's a cycle that takes place, then you understand how to still the mind, how to meditate. And you can actually say, let the peace be still to any type of illness or harm that's going on in the body. And the body gonna do what you say do. You ever wonder why when a doctor tells somebody you sick, or you got this, and then the body just start breaking down? It's because they believe what the doctor said to them. The doctor put the thought in their mind, they believe it immediately. So that illness go to work on the body. And it's the same thing if you can have that same conviction when it comes to you being able to say, no, this ain't got no control over me. I'm the thinker. I'm the one that controls this demonstration. We have a saying in our circle, that is not in flesh and bones to think or reason. So how in the world your body gonna just do what it want to you, and you supposed to be the God of the body? Huh? Explain that right there. You've been given the powers to govern yourself and have authority over yourself, and you're gonna let somebody tell you you're dying. Next thing you know, if you ain't careful, you dead. Because you have made them your God. You let the doctor be your God. Instead of taking that power of consciousness in yourself and then saying, let the peace be still. But anyway, so it says, connecting the crown to the mid-brow. It says, beware of the crown in the mid-brow point. Inhale as though you were breathing through the crown point. Can you imagine that, taking holy breath into the crown chakra of your head? Now this got to be done with clean and pure diet. Now, you got to be eating right when you do this stuff. So if your diet ain't right, then, you ain't going to have enough saving power, to save yourself, so to speak. So anyway, it says, beware of the golden light in front of you and the energy of the mountains, oceans, lakes, waterfalls, and forests. Breathe that energy in through the mid-eyebrow point, the crystal room. So you have energy coming from the top of the head and then coming through the third eye. This is your meditation process. You see? And it says exhale through the crown, right? Then it goes into repeating these last two steps 3 to 9 times. You see, and then rest and feel the line of connection between the crown point and the mid-eyebrow point, right? This is all dealing with self-mastery. What is this? This Big Dipper is really the scimitar. And you see the star here, so you understand now that the scimitar is rotating around the Polaris. It's rotating around Venus. Venus is a similar love, so to speak, right? The day star on high, as we call it. So when you see the flag that we have, that scimitar above the star, all it's doing is showing you the rotation process. And we know that comes straight out of Kemet. We're going to show that to you in a minute. You've seen it already. So that's why you see the ancestors right here demonstrating the netters. You see them demonstrating, and you see the scimitar right here, the Kafesh, which they often call the leg of the ox, constellation of the bull. Sometimes Musketi is what they call it. This is your Big Dipper, Little Dipper. And if you ever seen one standing with their hands raised, this is a sign of raising of holy breath. This is Shu. You see? So this is a powerful demonstration here. Our ancestors, powerful. So this is what I'm talking about right here. Noble Drew Ali knew what he was bringing us when he brought us that adept Symbiote with the scimitar and the star. You see the Polaris is right here. And you see the scimitar rotating around the Polaris. The North Star. We are for love, truth, peace, and freedom. When these principles are violated, justice must take its course. So if you don't live your life according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, then justice will take its course on your body, your mind, and everything else too. So you got to know how to wield your scimitar, or it become like the soul in the hands of a madman. If you know the Moorish Holy Quran, you know the ayat I'm referring to. Ain't nothing wrong with a little Moorish humor either. So again, this is dealing with awakening the healing light. That's the book that this come from. But no truth contradicts another truth. This coming from our Asiatic brothers, and they demonstrate the same signs we demonstrate in the Moorish teaching, and also Kemet. So this is Kunlun Mountain, according to them, coming straight from the area of the octothalamus right here, right? This is all in the head. The pineal has a close connection to the North Pole. Pineal gland, right? Remember they say Jacob wrestled with God on Mount Peniel. You hear them talking about Mount Meru, all these sacred mountains. In the esoteric word, the mount represents the highest thing on the body, just like the pyramid has a capstone. It's the apex in the temple of perfected man. As it is above, so it is below. As it is within, so it is without. Our ancestors were building structures that were based on this physical structure that we call the human body. Even the European tried to pick up that science, like we said before, in building automobiles. The car has a brain, the computer. The car has a heart, it has lungs. You see, it breathes, but that's a whole nother measure. So it says, it goes to show you again, that's the scimitar, that's the confession rotating around the pole star. That crown point, right? And this says the thalamus and the hypothalamus connect to the Big Dipper. So there's some vibration of the stars in heaven, in relation to dealing with, our thinking apparatus, or what we call the brain, right? So it's talking about the heavenly chi in the microcosmic orbit. Now, the macrocosmic orbit is what we see in the Big Dipper going around that star, the Polaris. But the microcosmic orbit is what we are showing you right here, because this is the heavens. Remember, your head is your heavens. You see? So it says here, it says, then down into your body, it says, feel your blood energized by it. The natural polarity of this astral fire is the blue water energy of the earth. Breathe in the blue light and let it neutralize the red light and gather this original energy at the tie-in tent. Now, if you look and remember closer to what I was showing you, when we talking about the blue and the red, you see, we know blue represent breath, carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is coming out. That's harmful if you had it. You purify that breath, well, you got nothing but holy breath flowing through you, then everything in the body will become energetic. See the red going upward, blue coming out, red. You got to purify the cycle. So, again, it says that beware of the universal violet light of the North Star flowing through the crown down into the body. It may help to visualize a violet pearl, it said, at the crown, which you rotate in both directions. Now spiral the violet light down through your brain first 9 times clockwise and 9 times counterclockwise. I'm giving you meditation techniques. This is the quickest one they are saying to actually go into opening your consciousness. This takes practice. Somebody that's a materialist that think this stuff is fake, don't believe, and it ain't gonna work for them. We ain't even talking to them. The natural polarity to this universal violet light is the white light of your individual pole, which is the soul, and allow them to mix at the solar plexus. Rest for a few moments, enjoy the peaceful, joyful feeling, and let the light flow anywhere in your body that needs healing. You see what I'm saying? Again, so now you got that scimitar rotating around that star. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew what he was doing when he brought this symbol to us. Our flag not only represents us, but it represents a living manifestation. It was white at one time until we reached the rate of the atmosphere in our thinking. And then we had to deal with survival of the fittest and all that flight mode stuff. Prior to that right there, you didn't have to worry about flight mode. White mean purity, purity mean God, God mean the ruler of the land. We ain't talking about no white man. We talking about pure consciousness. You see? This is the gate of God. You see it right there? Same thing. Scimitar over the star, the Kafesh constellation of Musketi. Meru, Mera, Mesurah, Mesurah Kemet. That's what really make you a son of Ra. Misra, Mezaro. Who is able to place Mezaroth in the earth? That's what the book of Job talk about, right? Misraim. So we talking about the Kemet, that exists within you, as opposed to what they like to call Egypt. We're going to get into that in a minute too. So, we had showed this to our family before. This is the Kafesh, what you see in the hands, of our Kemetic brother. This is what basically the scimitar came out of. You see? The scimitar and the Kafesh is the same thing. So that's why they call it the constellation of the thigh. It's the thigh of the bull, the leg of the bull. So I did a lot of mathematics in this. I don't want to get into this right now. But I did the math on this, and this math basically manifests, the letters of Tehuti and the numbers, of Ma'at when it comes to balance. You see? And we can see how everything end up manifested in the form of what we call our Grand National Seal. Notice it's 7 stars, even in the Kafesh, in the Big Dipper. See, you see here the opening of the mouth tube in Kemet as well. So there's a rotation process. The Big Dipper, this is the Little Dipper. So they rotating around what would be the Polarises. You have what you call Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. This is Big Dipper, Little Dipper, like Asia Major, Asia Minor. Really, when we talk about our people being Asiatic in reference to the body, Asia is the body, Attic is the mind. The highest place or the storehouse of the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding. So yeah, out of that comes, again, the scimitar. Because it says in our Moorish Holy Quran, Allah breathed forth, the 7 Elohim. They were the ones who created everything that is and was and evermore to be. So they were employed by the Creator, the great God. They were thoughts of the great God, Allah, made manifest even in human flesh. So in all actuality, thought activity is based upon the holy breath, and it is through thought activity, like we read last night, that we are able to cross the borderland at will. We're able to purify this body and transcend this flesh and go into the heights of our divinity, being God man. What is man? Master all nature. You have to master yourself. For the Muslims, say master of Allah's nature, right? You see? So anyway, so this is where your scimitar is forged at, in your own consciousness. You see, you have to raise the vibration, raise yourself to a higher tone. Scimitar then, once it manifests through the process of rebirth, through the crescent, you see the star coming into the manifest. You got 5 points, then you got 2 points in the crescent and the star embodying. So scimitar being formed through them 7 consciousness, and then we have the banner being made manifest. You see, and this is really the human being. Here now, ye cherubim, ye seraphim, ye angels, and ye men. You see that right there? You the man. You see? So you also the angel. An angel is a thought of God made manifest in the flesh, that same holy breath. What is the duty of the cherubim according to chapter 1 in the Moorish Holy Quran? Cherubim are the protector of the solar stars. And the sun and so forth and so on, right? But then you have the seraphim. And the seraphim is the spirit of the Almighty God Allah. So this is the man that goes through 3 degrees. We come from the chemistry of mortal life. Yeah. Being masterminds, manifesting that angelic thought within the self. And then when we go beyond the plane of things made manifest, when we drop this garb, we can still be in the garb and drop the garb and become flesh divine. You can be in the world, but not of the world. And that's when you have that cherubim seraphim mindset. That's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali did to become the adept master that he became. He did exactly that. You see? So anyway, let us go now into understanding this cycle, of the scimitar, as it rotates not only within the consciousness of us being divine here, as you can see it here, see that there? That's the Big Dipper, that's the scimitar rotate. You see all the flames of enlightenment right here, in one that they grounded. You see this one sitting upon the earth. They on the square for real. You see the Milky Way up here, right? See, this high science right here. Everybody ain't gonna get this. But if you ain't able to get this right now, just hold on to the measure. You'll get it in a little bit. Tap into and absorb the original source of all power. Taoists learn to absorb and transform this force directly, rather than depending entirely on plants, animals, motions of the earth to provide energy. Yep, you guessed it right. In other words, I'm saying you got to get to a level to where you don't even need food to sustain your body. I ain't telling you to go out there and act crazy and say I'm finna jump off the bridge and become a breatharian, because that's a real adept measure of unfoldment. Although, if you are strong enough to get to this particular level, you can definitely do some master healing on your body. So again, you absorb and you transform the force to the extent that where you can actually, rather than depending on entirely on plants, animals, motions of the earth, to provide energy. After developing the energy body and extending into in space, they learn to access energies that are pure and more highly refined. See, we talking about the purification of the breath and cellular respiration. This means that humans are not necessarily restricted by this Earth's orbit. So that means though you are in the world, you are not of the world. You are not restricted. You are not bound to the plane of things made manifest unless you believe that you can't go beyond this plane. And this is, look at it, what it called an overview of Taoist inner alchemy. We was talking about this alchemy last night, right? Again, this is coming from the book Awakening the Healing Light, showing you how to heal yourself, family. If that don't give us no insight, then I don't know what will. And if you can see here, this actually shows you the cycle, of, these particular astrological, I call them patterns, dealing with the Big Dipper, as there's a rotation process that's going here. And if you look closely, it deals with the March equinox, the June solstice, September equinox. And it's not going this way because that's kind of clockwise. It actually goes from the other way in December solstice. So it would actually go this way in the rotation, not this way, but then it says each orbit of the earth around the sun is analogous to one round of the macrocosmic orbit. You see? And so it says by opening the microcosmic orbit and connecting to the cycle of universal macrocosm, we can draw in more of the universal force. Man, all this stuff comes straight from our ancestors in Africa. Y'all keep thinking that this stuff originate from a New Age movement. And Madame Blavatsky and the likes of all these other years. Keep thinking that. Keep thinking that. Keep right on thinking that. And you're going to remain as ill as you've been. You're going to remain as sick as you've been. And you're going to always basically, we're going to say your body going to take control of you. You ain't got no control over your body. So going back to the cycle that I mentioned up here, this Krebs cycle, since we got to utilize these types of things that we eat, the way that we adjust our appetite will have a grand effect on the way that our body responds to what we put in it. Because the vibration of our body determines the quality of what we put into our body, whether we know it or not. If you got a low vibration, everything you put in your body going to be converted to low vibration. And it's just like putting bad gas. Imagine you already know you got to put 93 in that form. You know good and well you ain't got no business trying to put 87 in there. You try to put 87 in that form, you're going to have some problem with that engine. You see, even if you put 93, in that plain Jane, you're going to have some problem with that too. It's too rich. You see, when I say foreign, I'm talking about, some of the cars that have to take 93. They got to take something with high octane in it. You see, something that's real pure, right? But anyway, it says cherub is the scimitar, and this is my drawing here after doing all my research. The cherub, which is where the word cherubim comes from. This is a scimitar keeping foreign agents at bay in the universe. You see? And then you have the Krebs cycle in the body, which represents the scimitar and keeping free radicals at bay in the body. So just as the universe has purification protection in its cycle, the cherub about a cherub The Krebs cycle is the same within the human body, keeping free radicals at bay in the body. Because if the free radicals get loose in the body, what you think gonna happen to the body? What happened when the free radicals take over and begin to govern the body? You know the word "bay" mean govern, right? When they overthrow, everything in your system become toxic. And they do literally lead to toxic masculinity. They lead to toxic femininity. All of that. Want to give honors to our brother, Delilah Africa, because he go into all of that. The way you eat determine the way you speak to people. The way you feel as far as being in a state of dis-ease or at ease. Yeah, that also has to do with the diet. You are what you eat, family. People think that's just a statement being made. So again, dealing with the Krebs cycle in biology, this Krebs cycle would be the cherubim cycle as well in cosmology. So the body itself has to be brought back into harmony. As it is above, so it is below. But now think of somebody that don't care nothing about dealing with the macrocosm. And they just stuck on the plane of things made manifest. And then they want to try to act like they want to deal with some self-help and holistic health and healing the body. They ain't going to be able to do it because they ain't got no meiotic balance. You see, you rejecting a part of yourself. Man. So again, here's another measure too. This is very important. So what we learn about, there's a process in the concept of dealing with cellular respiration in the body. We know cellular respiration really is dealing with, the process of the cycle of holy breath. This is what's really keeping you alive. It ain't you breathing in, it's being able to have pure, oxygenation in the body. Holy breath, family. You become a breatharian, and then you can fuel these cells and still have some energy. Then you done reached the God state in consciousness. I don't advise nobody to go trying that though without a master teacher or a real guru to teach them. You see what I'm saying? So then you have the process of what is known as chemiosmosis. I put the dash in there, but there is a term that deal with this cellular respiration. The process is chemiosmosis. This is the Moses of Kemet, the body, the Moses of the body in this cycle of cellular respiration. So you have, this would be the God, the holy breath that speak to Moses from the burning bush, right? The burning bush in all actuality right up here, you see it. The burning bush is really along the central nervous system, right? So, but anyway, chemiosmosis is a process that this is a real scientific process, family. This ain't something I made up. Look it up together without the dash in it. This is the Moses of the Kemet, the body, being directed by cellular respiration to free the Hebrews of the body. The Hebrews of the body represent the ions. These are the molecules and everything else that deal with the cellular process, to bring about energy. So these ions cross over, and then this causes the ATP, to become, we can say, more potent. ATP is energy. So in this case, we say, well, ATP is a lot of provider. I knew the provider, if you want to deal with it from the comedic aspect, wherever you want to see it. So I'm showing you, how this holy breath coming through the Moses of the body, freeing them Hebrews, them ions, the elements, brings about energy in the body. That energy is provided from this process. But if you stop the process, if you want to be like Pharaoh, with all your gluttony, your eating and all that type of stuff right there, starving your body from the proper nutrients that have, and we already know what the cry, oh, Pharaoh, let my people go. That ain't got to do with nothing with no man at this particular time. We talking esoterics. You see? holding them in bondage. And last but not least, family, you know, again, dealing with cellular respiration, this cycle of chemiosmosis, one can guide the ions in an electron path. You see the path right here, right? Until the appearance of the ATP, or what the Moors like to say, Allah, Ali, and we. So this is all dealing with divine energy, family. Energy is everything. Energy is neither created nor destroyed either. And when we get to trying to do that type of stuff right there and become a mad scientist or a big head scientist, most of you might spontaneously combust if you ain't careful, getting out here trying to demonstrate this stuff. So I just want to say, be a master of yourself. Signs and symbols are for conscious minded men and women of understanding. All we got to do is be willing to go in the self and do the work, family. We don't make it no plainer than this right here. Want to give honors to our brother Jeff Billenzel and Yaqub Hamid. Okay, we're going to let our brother Hakeem Bey in here. Sincere Bey, Islam, grand man. Can you hear me? Dr. Abdul Hakeem, Consul General. Okay, I think maybe our brother done walked off. I hope he ain't went to sleep or nothing. But Islam. Yeah, so we want to give honors to your family. We finna get into this text now. Okay, so let me go back, make sure I'm sharing my screen. So we wanted to lay that down to give our family some insight to help them, be able to conquer the body. Don't let the body conquer you, family. You was put here as a vicegerent to be Lord of the plane of soul and Lord of the plane of things made manifest. And we know the actions of the soul is thinking, willing, reason, understanding, remembering. So we got to be lords over our thoughts when it comes to exercising our ability to think, will, reason, understand, and remember. You see, and then once we're able to demonstrate this, now we tap into what we call the immortal virtues of the soul. So, John the Baptist, God, man, the word made flesh. Now, we're going to give you some more elements in here on how to raise that body to the higher tone, on how to demonstrate that divine alchemy that we were talking about, turn this base nature into some gold. So it says John, or Ionis, is the ointment or the oil that flows down the spinal cord from the reservoir of God. Remember that crown. Remember dealing with what we call the claustrum. It says that flows down the spinal cord from the reservoir of God's substance in the upper brain, the most high, the heaved up place, the heaven within. See, I told you that heaven was above the neck, didn't I? See, when you get into esoteric teaching, this actually applies across the board. If you go into the teachings of Sufism, you'll see the same thing. You know what I mean? Whether it's dealing with this breakdown on the body or it's just dealing with different conscious behavior. They're going to let you know that the Most High, nearest place you can meet the great God Allah is above your neck in the heart. It ain't got nothing to do with the blood pumping organ. This is all dealing with a state of consciousness. So again, this is what that Most High is, the upper brain, the heaved up place, the heaven within. So it says, we know that we have in heaven a more enduring substance. Yeah, that is. If we learn how to demonstrate some abstinence, if we learn how to use them seeds that flow down the spinal cord and go into that manger to be reborn in a cycle, if we know how to do that right there, we can build a temple of perfected man, because those seeds represent stones in building this temple of perfection. Al-Insan, the perfect man, the temple of perfected man, Al-Insan. So it says the mysterious circumstances connected with the Bible and story of John the Baptist and the information given in Smith's Bible Dictionary prove the holy divine origin of that which was called John, but which means all in Greek. John's father was said to be a priest of Abijah or Abijah, right? it states this letter in Hebrew means whose father is Jehovah. Jehovah is the upper brain. It says the Most High, the crystalline dew, referred to in the medieval Hebrew. Before the oil is raised by the seed, thus giving 1/10 or a tithe to the Lord, because that's what happened if the cycle take place with the seed. It constantly happened the same way, glory flowing down from the heavens, manna, and then going back up. This cycle takes place in the body. Everything that deal with healing something or being in its proper context of order, meiotic order, has to do with cycle. So it says, before the oil is raised by the seed, thus giving 1/10 or tithe to the Lord, it is called natural or wild, not cultivated, like wild flowers, wild honey. So John was a wild man, a native, a parable, right? Most certainly. We know John was the one that prepared the way for the coming Messiah, the coming one, he who was to come, right? So it was like a wild substance until one prepared the way. So it says, most certainly. It says his food was locusts and wild honey. The pineal gland and the pituitary body secrete fluids called milk and honey in the scriptures. Y'all already know what that is. Locust means destructive devourer, a glutton. Deuteronomy 28:42. All thy tree of life and fruit, it says, and seed shall the locust or sex desire consume. And that's why we say we got to get into some abstinence. We got to learn how to fast from even that type of activity. We already told you, the body get weak. You know what I mean? The more you preserve that seed, the more you hold that seed in your brothers, the more you have the ability to heal your body, to raise the substance of the body to a higher tone. I know it's hard. I know it may sound hard if we caught up into the manifest, but trust me. If you heal yourself, by the way that you eat and doing this right here, people be looking at you, man, they'll think you're 13, 14 years old. That's the fountain of youth. So it says the reader will please remember that the Bible is secret doctrine, or that which is within and not without. See, this is what they teach behind closed doors in the Masonic lodges. You know what I mean? And they be trying to hide this from the people. They know this right here teaching come from our ancestors, but they don't want you to know it, because if you become a master over yourself, then they can't use your desires to control you. If the people would come out of a state of desiring the things made manifest, this would be enough to overthrow the oppression, that we've been receiving from the system alone. If we had a little more discipline than we normally have, but we just can't go stop spending our money on what the European want to give to us and sell us as value. We got to have that big house. We got to have the car. We got to have the clothes. We got to, there's nothing wrong with having nice things out of life. Don't get me wrong. But when we get excessive, that means that we must be a slave to our passions in some type of way. And most of the time, most brothers get in trouble because they're trying to oppress a woman. Most of our brothers that done killed each other, they did it because they were trying to impress our sisters that wasn't even in the right state of mind to be impressed. You see, especially if the impression had to do with material things. You see what I'm saying? Either they locked up in prison behind a sister trying to impress her, or they done let her get the best of them because she didn't know herself. She wasn't in her goddess statues, but she knew that she can use the jewel of the Nile, to cause a brother to do anything he want to do. You see, we ain't putting it on the sisters. We just giving you the aspect of to let our people know the type of power that we have. So it says, John the natural man was an eater of fruit of the tree of life with a girdle of camel's hair. It says from Gimel, which is the third letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which pertains to the external male organ. So we already know what the camel's hair, is referring to around the tree of life, In the aspect of dealing with eating of the fruit, ain't got nothing to do with eating of the fruit of the tree of life. That mean that you are overly indulging in those acts that cause you to consume yourself in pleasure. So anyway, it says, but John, like the prodigal son, changed his mind and is made to say, one cometh after me to get me, the latchet of whose shoes, Pisces, represent the fishes, right? The feet. I am not worthy to loose. You see, so John know he preparing the way for somebody. He ain't the one. You know, he is the oil that is opening up the way for the seed to be able to flow down from the heavens. You see, and be born, so to speak, you know, in a manger. Solar plexus region, right? Ain't that's what is that feeling of puberty come into play at? But anyway, it says, latchet shoes are emblems of cover, a cup swaddled in cloth. The oil in the seed, when born, is covered or protected by a crust of mineral salts, which, when anointed by being baptized in Jordan or John, is loosened. And he that saveth his life shall loosen it. So you better save that seed, family, and save yourself. You see, you better learn how to demonstrate some abstinence if you want to heal this body. See mistranslation of scripture. In order that the shell may fall apart when the seed, Jesus, goes over the cross, thus, Father, remove the cup, cover, or latchet from me, in order that the precious material may ascend into the pineal gland. Wee! Boy, that's cold-blooded right there, family. Hold up, let me see if our brother Sincere Bay there. You there, brother Sincere Bay? Okay, our brother still, he must be asleep, family. That's all right. We got him on here to sit here with us. But congrats, brother. Cali Cuz. Say you got me on 3 weeks so far, no sex. I see a big difference. Is it worth it? I'm gonna be real, Mo. I don't feel like it. But I said it would go for 2 months, and I'm giving your theory a try. And it ain't, you got to remember, this ain't an overnight process. You know, this is doing that along with the dieting. Go intermediate. Don't try to hurt yourself. You know, the prophets say don't try to stop all things at once, because you might tear some up. But bring increments in there to where you become stronger and stronger. Just like resetting your circadian clock in the body. If you reset the circadian clock in the body, you know, along with that right there too, everything being brought in balance, bro, that's where you're going to see, you know, your result from the exercise, you know, the work that you putting in with it. I'm telling you, bro, you're going to start feeling energetic for no reason. You know how we used to feel when we were young? I don't know about y'all. I used to do a lot of flipping when I was young. I still can now. Get out there in that grass and go so hard that I start flipping in one place. You know, but nevertheless, you go to feeling that energy, brother. You don't feel tired. You don't feel exhausted. None of that. You eating good. You know, try to throw that vegan life off in there. Throw you a few salads, you know, and whatever it is you're eating, if you can eat like that. If not, try to at least go toward the pescatarian. You know, eat you some salmon if that's what you can eat. But I'm telling you, it's going to make the body feel good, bro. Normally, though, anytime you do any type of change to the body, it really takes, you know, a 90-day cycle for you really to see some difference. You know, you're going to start to see the difference in your skin. You know, people might tell you, bro, you're glowing over there. You know what I mean? People going to swear you younger than what you is. You know, I'd be having to tell these people, no, man, I'm old. You know, I got some age on me. You know what I mean? But anyway, so the main thing is just healing the body. It's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you stronger. So let me go back over here, because these are actually short chapters, but I will like to go into this measure here. But before I go here, I'm going to go into our Moorish Holy Quran real quick, you know, to go in line with this here, so the Moors can follow us, since we talking about our brother John the Harbinger. Now notice it says, this rite of cleansing And this temple are but symbolic of the soul, which does not come with outward show, but is the temple within. It says, now you may never point the way and tell the multitudes to do what you have never done, but you must go before and show the way. You are to teach that men must wash. So you must lead the way, and your body must be washed, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul. And John said, and he was talking to the adept, the hierophant, Matheno, pardon himself. It says, why need I wait? May I not go at once and wash? That's what our brother Cuzzo did. He said, why need I wait? You know, he done started washing and cleansing already. Matheno said, it's as well. And they went down to the Jordan Ford, east of Jericho. Now, you know, Jericho is a place of confusion. You know, and if you're talking about the east is within, you know, in the Jordan Ford. The Jordan is actually, again, dealing with the within. That's the spinal column. That's the Jordan stream, right? It says, just where the host of Israel crossed, it says, when first they entered Canaan, and they tarried there for a time. See, that's going into that same region, you know, them tribes of Israel, them cell salts, Israel. It says, Matheno taught the harbinger, and he explained to him the inner meaning of the cleansing rite and how to wash himself and how to wash the multitude. You know, how you going to teach the tribe, you know, to wash themselves, so to speak. You know, them 12 disciples. Anyway, it says, and in the river of Jordan, John was washed, and they returned into the wilderness. Remember, they say he was a wild man and God, man, the word made flesh, right? It says, now in Gini's hills, Matheno's work was done, and he and John went down to Egypt, and they rested until they reached the temple of Sakra in the valley of the Nile. That's really the temple of them chakras. You see what I'm saying? The chief temple of the chakras in the valley of the Nile, because the Nile Valley is the same as the Jordan from the Kemetic standpoint. You see? So it says here in closing out, it says, for many years, Matheno was a master in this temple of the brotherhood. And it says, when he told about the life of John and of his mission to the sons of men, the hierophant with joy received the harbinger, and he was called Brother Nazarite. Now, you know, the hierophant really represent the highest state of consciousness, right? You know, once John learns how to wash and become a washer of men, that right symbolic being introduced. Oh, man, it says for 18 years, John lived and wrote within these temple gates. And here he conquered self and became a mastermind and learned the duties of the harbinger. You imagine what can be done in the first 18 days of this process that take place. You see, we already know 8 plus 1 is 9, and that deal with reentry again. You know, I'm just adding the esoterics right here. Same story can be told right here in the Moorish Holy Quran. So notice it say they went down into Egypt. Since we going down into Egypt, let's go back to God, man, the word made flesh. The plagues of Egypt. You know, there were plagues that were mentioned in Egypt during the time of Moses, right? But anyway, it says these same locusts are sex and appetite or gluttony. It says, or devourers are and always have been the plagues and sickness and disease in all people in all ages. It says, and now when evildoers wax worse and worse, a majority of human beings are deliberately and with malice, it says, afterthought committing suicide through eating and drinking for pleasure and indulging in sexual excesses on every plane, in every way known to carnal perverts. See, it's giving it to your family, right? So it says, now this book here, man, God, man, the word made flesh, our Moorish Holy Quran, these books teach you to go within, family. You can't blame it on nobody in the congregation or blame it on the preacher or nobody else. You got to go within to do the work, family. So this is how you're able to make these things applicable to yourself instead of just sitting there getting bully pulpit preached to, so to speak, you know, by somebody that just hollering in your ear. And you can go within the self and really learn how to master the self with this lesson. So it says, officers of the law tell us that lasciviousness has surely reached its limit. It says the handwriting on the wall appears. In proof of this, allow us to quote the following by the great poet Rabindranath Tagore, printed in August the 1st in the issue of the Los Angeles Examiner. Paris, July the 31st. I came from Asia expecting to find Europe, a vale of tears, a desert of misery and grief, with 10 million dead, stricken suddenly by shell or bullet from the roster of the earth, snatched from their firesides and their babies and the women whom they love. What should one visualize but a Europe draped in black, a Europe where the innocent laughter of a tiny child would seem a gross incongruity, pardon self. It says, yet Europe weeps not. It says, she has cast off her black and is wearing her brightest colors, her most splendid plumes. Her men are already forgetting their slaughtered brothers in the incessant effort to profit from the abnormal financial conditions prevailing because of war. Her woman, her woman, they are snatching flowers, bright red poppies from the graves of their fallen husbands and sons to wear them in their hair. 10 million dead, and naught but dust already. Were these 10 million the only sober, sane, living people in Europe? Are those who left only those consumed with avarice, selfishness, and the desire to be amused at no matter what cost? Or is this Europe which is dancing on its own coffin, a Europe gone stark mad? It says, Paris, turn thine eyes to the south. Their templed city once stood, a living, breathing defiance to an inevitable death, a death that came sooner than it thought and overwhelmed it. The name of that city was Babylon. Well named was Babylon, right? Well named also Paris, for call to mind the fate of her sister gods. They say to me, what strange man are you to wish us eternal sadness? Would you have us grieve while we starve? Do you not know the work is impossible with a heavy heart, and cannot you see that we have lightened our hearts in order to take up the burden our dead brothers have left to us? What strange man are you? I say to them, Europe, it seems to me that you are dancing more than you are working. Too many are living on the blood profits wrung from the slain. They say to me, what do you want? We fought well and we won. I say to them, so did Babylon. Yet though she won, she lost. God, yea, that you do not share her fate. And basically it's referring to Babylon, as the example of overindulgence into materialism. You don't care that people dying daily or whatever in this great war. You loving it. And so I'm gonna go through this chapter too, because it's short, and then I'm gonna close this message out. This is dealing with the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, because remember we went into Egypt, right? So it say it is not an easy matter to get people to understand a subject to which they have given little or no thought whatever. Boy, do I know that right there. Because everything I bring forth they ain't never heard of, they swear it's a lie. Even if you show them a million sources. It says, but if one earnestly desires light on a rare and particular subject, as for instance the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, deep concentration is bound to bring results. And the ideas that are the fruit, it says, of that are going into the silence may be similar to what others have given out, and they may be dissimilar. If dissimilar, they may be offered to the earnest esoteric student as a working hypothesis to be accepted or rejected by him. In case he rejects, reason must be given in order that new light may be shed on the question. Many scientists have personally studied the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx and made endless measurements. They have arrived for the most part at the same conclusion to which that great occultist Madame Helena Blavatsky held, that the measuring attainment of the Great Pyramid would indicate all the substance of measure of the heavens and the earth. So much for that part, but there are other facts to be noted. It will be revealed, and no doubt within comparatively short time, now that there are many other secret chambers within this remarkable monument, and that is true entrance is from the silent sphinx. And y'all seen me show y'all the entryway into the pyramids, in its underground passageways. It says, Villy, it will not remain silent much longer. That celestial force which conquered the animal nature and resulted in a race of perfected human beings in far as distant Aquarian age, enabled them to build monuments which would withstand and wear and the tear of the ages, and be a lodestar and a beacon light for fellow travelers along the same great path, a path that is now narrow and sharp as a razor, a path filled with stones that bruised and cut the feet. As one priest persists, pardon self, one persists, the stones become fewer. Green velvet grass and beautiful flowers spring up beside the way, and the heart of the aspirant is cheered and strengthened, and he picks himself up again and yet again, and goes on with eyes ever fixed on the flaming star in the distance. It's saying these incomparable monuments show us what was done in past ages, what is being done now, and what will be accomplished by future generations until all humanity shall kneel at the feet of God, the ultimate perfection for all of God's children, for we are all his. In the king's chamber, which occupies the highest position therein, has been found an especially unique object, to which has been given many names ranging from sarcophagus to corn bin. H.P. Blavatsky comments caustically. It says, on the denseness of those who ascribe the latter name to it, and says it is a womb within a womb. It's in the king chamber. It's up there in the apex of the pyramid, right? It say it is indeed a sacred chalice, the holy grail, and represents the pineal gland within the head of every human being. This receptacle within the king's chamber is forever uncovered, waiting patiently for that precious treasure, which is to rebuild a sacred temple. It is the womb, the place of conception of the psychophysical seed. I want y'all to remember that word. It is also the tomb of Joseph, the rock-hewn tomb, which no man had ever lain, the place to which the seed returns. Humanity as a whole will from now on learn more and more about the wonderful process within the human body, and more will their eyes become open. Then indeed shall we not have definite assurance that the Great Pyramid will reveal to us the sacred claustrum and the door of Brahm. The sarcophagus then was not intended, it say, by its perfected builders to contain a dead body, but a living one, living in the highest sense of the word. It is intended for a lasting memorial and exemplification of that birth life and transmutation of the Savior, the Redeemer, the seed within the human body. Before entering the king's chamber, we find ourselves in the anteroom, wherein standing all across the room from the floor to the ceiling is a strange structure named the granite leaf. The granite leaf, pardon self. It says, it may well be that these four grooves correspond to the four eminences called the caliculi of the corporea quadramina in the midbrain. You already know about them four quadrants too, don't you? In the antechamber of the head. That's talking about, man, everything that's really, oh man, that's powerful. It says the king's chamber and the queen's chamber stand in the same relation to each other as do the pineal gland and the pituitary body. The king's chamber being placed at the highest, and likewise the pineal body. No wonder man has considered himself to be above woman. But it says the pyramid well which connects to the queen's chamber with the subterranean grotto corresponds in anatomy to the left sympathetic system, and the subterranean grotto is the sacral plexus, where the first crucifixion of the seed of Jesus take place. For those who don't know what the sacral plexus is, that's at the base of the spine, mostly where we call the generative organs. And when you indulge or overly indulge in sexual activity, you actually crucifying the seed. You crucifying the Messiah. You see what I'm saying? So you participate in the real crucifixion, by means of overindulgence in your appetite, and even eating what we eat, and eating too much or eating in excess actually causes one to want to be getting all up into their sexual passions and so forth and so on. Our brother Lalila Africa say that. The more junk food you eat, the more sweet you eat. Next thing you know, you want something sweet. But anyway, it says, without a doubt, the future will reveal other and more spacious rooms corresponding to the organs of the body. And it is remarkable that the chambers which were first revealed to the eyes of the humanity stand for and represent those organs within the human body which mankind is destroying in excesses. It is no wonder that no trace of any lightning system has been revealed, for no system of lighting was needed. Those perfected builders enjoyed full use, it says, of all the all-seeing eye, and were a light unto themselves. The radius from that inner eye giveth light to all that is within the temple. And it's talking about the optic thalamus, basically. The middle of the brain, that's the light. Remember, you the temple of perfection. You the real pyramid. You the great pyramid. It says, there was also great wisdom and forethought displayed in closing all outlets of the pyramid. A lot of people don't know it's 5 secret departments that's actually in the king's chamber. And that 5 plus king and queen chamber, that's really 7. So now you know why Nova Drew Ali brought the Moors back 7 adept degrees. That's just a key to give family. So it says, for those great ones knew that they were to be submerged, perhaps tried twice before the impulse of spirit of the Aquarian age would impel mankind to obey the inner urge and seek to solve the pyramid mystery, when he himself was beginning to seek and find the solution of the great and wondrous mystery within his own body. Hence the passageways were closed and kept free from debris and ages. In this Aquarian age, this Sunday of God, when the sign of the Son of Man has appeared in the heavens, your consciousness, all things will stand revealed. Once again, in the course of the ages, will mankind have reached the same goal which the builders of the Great Pyramid reached in that very far remote age of at least 50,000 years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali talk about our flag being 50,000 years. We know that's really talking about Neter, the God. Man being one with God through deific will. You was a living manifestation. They call it ayat, A-A-T. Ayat, Kemetic word for insight. Ayat, which comes into A-Y-A-T in the Arabic. A sign of God, right? It says, and here and there are found a few whose eyes are beginning to be cleared, whose material vision is being purified, meaning they don't just think on what they see. They can see beyond what they see physically. It says, whose brain cells are beginning to vibrate to that harmony, which to the ancient ones was sweet and thrilling music. It says, and when this Aquarian age shall reach its close, we too will be able to join in that great anthem of joy and sing the praises of the Most High, the God within us. Humanity has been wandering many and many years in the wilderness, but the promised land flowing with milk and honey is very near, and soon the stone that the builders rejected would have become the head of the corner. In other words, you're going to put a capstone on that demonstration. It's not an incomplete pyramid. You are not to remain incomplete, my brothers and sisters. You feel me? This is powerful. It don't get no plainer than this right here. It don't get no plainer than this right here. So again, we showed you all. We're going to show you again just for the sake of doing it. We're going to show our family, what we talking about, because it was just talking about us being the temple of perfected man. And see, when you get to talking about the temple of perfected man, You know, all of these things have to do with all these things having to do with all the things, family, that deal with self-mastery. So I'm gonna take you back here to, you know, the Egyptian adept rite of self-initiation, you know, and I take you back to it again, you know, and show you, you know, this is special map that is all dealing with what's above the neck and the head. This the real adept chamber. See what I'm saying? See, it's talking about the king chamber. They kept talking about the pituitary and the pineal gland, pituitary pineal body, land of milk and honey, illuminating. You know, once you're able to illuminate the body now, you know, it's right here in our Moorish Holy Quran. You see? That's that real chamber. See? Chamber of reflection. There you go right there. You start here in the grotto. Go up through the halls of truth. Get in the king's chamber, you know, coming from the queen's chamber. You know, this secret places of God. So it ain't a question if God exists. The question is where he at? He in you. What Matheno said, the same one that taught John, behold, this land of Egypt of the dead, our temples have long been tombs of hidden things of time. Our temple crypts and caves are dark. In the light, there is no secret thing. The sun reveals all hidden truth, and there are no mysteries in Allah. Behold, the rising sun. His beams are entering every door. Yes, every crevice of the mystic crypts of Mizraim. We hail the light. All Egypt craves the light. So who do you think that Sphinx is? That Sphinx represents you when you become a master of yourself and you're able to master the elements dealing with the earth part of you, air, fire. You know, and you do that by means of getting in the ethers of your native plane. The ether is what unite the elements. So when you become a Sphinx, you sit there guarding the way, you know, to your entry into your temple of perfection. You ain't gonna let no thoughts or naught just come up in there after that. See how that Sphinx sitting up there? You know, Noble Drew Ali was said to come through the halls of the, you know, come through the halls and the halls of the Sphinx. Once he had them blindfolds put on him, they told him he better find his way out. And if he didn't find his way out, then he surely would become dead man bones. Like those, many of those who they thought was supposed to be the adept or the mastermind before him. So he knew what he was doing when he brought these adept teachings back to us. You know, he gave us his journey and simultaneously went through it esoterically while he went through it physically, and brought us the same pathway as our pathway of initiation to master ourselves too. It's us, family. It's us. See that there? See what it say? The adept. Huh? That's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, what he said to him, the Egyptian adept student, he said, I am a Muslim. Now, you know a Muslim is the will of Allah, right? It's the difference between submitting to the will and being the will. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is a man, right? It said who was born with divine power. He was taught by the adepts of Egypt. He said, I have the secret of destroying the germs of tuberculosis, cancer, and lungs in 10 to 30 days. Your lungs. He speaks on the strict examination of rheumatism, cancer. Oh, man, he went into all that. He letting you know you can heal yourself. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I can heal you of anything that you wasn't born with. You see? That's the purpose of this knowledge when you go to talking esoteric. It ain't just to sound slick. It's to be able to heal yourself. And that's why I have right up here, we quoting everything that he taught us. The teacher treads the way. On every span of ground, he leaves his footprints clearly cut, in which all can see and be assured that he, their master, went that way. Men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do, and they come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. And when you would make men to know that sins are washed away by purity in life, a right symbolic may be introduced. You see? And this what you're looking at is the right symbolic that has been introduced. You see? It's all dealing with self-mastery. All of this exists within you. The hierophant, the soul of man, you know, the metal netta is inside of you. These are sacred texts. I keep trying to tell these people this, but they want to focus on everything on the outside. The judgment seat of all saw, it's in you. That's your seat of consciousness. The scroll of self-certainty. You ain't looking for nobody else to give you no approval. You know when you done crossed the borderland at will. The spacious room in your upper mind, your hidden upper chamber. Huh? And we can go on with the mudras of being able to heal the body. See, mudras have to do with healing the body and everything. So, family, this is the main draw in here, though, when you be able to raise that kundalini, raise that scimitar. So that being said, family, it don't get no plainer than this right here. We unfold through all these degrees. It all has to do with self-mastery. So that's why, like, when we go through them and you deal with the Egyptian adept ladder of the initiation of degrees of self-initiation, the first thing in this ancient Comedian order and rite of the pyramids and the mysteries of all saw and all set dealing with the king chamber and queen chamber, right? The aspirant at point zero must first become a neophyte for admission. They got to master the element that deal with the earth. They got to master this body, the material, right? This is just preparation. So you got to deal with purification of the body and development over control and over the physical appetites. This is just the first degree. All this stuff dealing with God, man, the word made flesh. You got to learn how to control your physical appetites. Thing that make you want to eat, lust, all that. This is just point zero now, the aspirant as a neophyte. If you can't get past point zero, you ain't got to worry about going into the grotto. Preliminary testing and emotional response, intelligence, willpower, and obedience to the higher dictates in life. How well can you obey the higher self when they say, man, don't go over there and let that woman tempt you. Man, don't go over there and eat that cake. Man, don't go over there, man, running behind no money. That's the neophyte level, family. So, once you get beyond the neophyte level, now you go into the black fez degree. The black fez degree is the grotto. That's the first level. That's the lowest level. You seen it at the very bottom of the pyramid, right? And you come up through the first degree, Pasteparu, or what we call Pastophorus, as an apprentice. Now you're a neophyte. What is the element that you must master here? Water. You got to learn how to become fluid in your ways. You got to use it for purification process. Amen. You become a temple opener. What is the word of power that you use once you do this to open up the way? Yeah, that's initiation, purification of the emotions, development of love and mastery of the emotions. So that's why we say these are the adept degrees of self-initiation. Nuak Heru, near chorus, the craftsman. Now you become a disciple. You are pure enough in your conscience to be willing to follow one that's guiding you to a destination that's not uncertain or unknown. But you already know that your end outcome is the heights of divinity. So you ain't got no problem listening, pouring your cup out when your cup was full in the beginning. You see, the temple guardian is what you become. Huhi or Ihu is your master word here. Transmutation. This is the purification of the mind. You see, development of understanding, the mastery of your own thoughts, not somebody else and what they thinking, and being in competition with what somebody else demonstrate. Then we have Mualahu Neferu, which is melanophorus. You become the master initiate at your third pass in these particular degrees. Oh, now you become a temple high priest. You can control everything that had to do with the Lord manifest, because now you're dealing with fire. You just dealt with earth, air. Here's your fire. It says Heru Ami Abu, and Heru Ami Abu is what a European got Haramabir from. I told you before, when they took the love out of us, that's when they killed the African God man. So being a master initiate, you mastered your mind, your own consciousness. You being a master of divinity, love is what make you be the temple high priest. You can't be the high priest without love. Heru Ami Abu. See? Exhumation is what we call this. This is the development and mastery of the willpower and ability to act in service in any conditions of life. You may have went through a recent death in your family or lost somebody close to you. You may have lost your job, or you may have lost a whole bunch of things that you may consider near and dear to you. But even in that state, being a high priest, you're going to keep your level of vibration on high. Experience of humility, death in the underworld. So this is why we call these the Black Fez degrees. You see, once you're able to come up out of this, you show enough ready. Now you're a soldier, you're a warrior. Now you can move on to the Red Fez degrees. Ain't nobody giving you this by going into a building. All of these rewards come by you being a master of the self. So now you enter that Queen's chamber. You see, now you starting here at Kistepheru, Kistephorus, the ancient builder, the adept. See, you got to go back through that earth again and do some more mastery there, don't you? You know, then you become the temple master adept, and Ayah is your word of power here. This is to bring about a resurrection, which will allow you to emerge in the higher life and consciousness and defeat and mastery of all self-illusion, vanity, investment with powers and attributes of an adept. You see? Then you have what you call the Ba'ahluta, a Belahate, a Belahati, the philosopher and master. Now you got clarity in mind. Your thoughts flow like water. You so pure up there. That's why we say the feds that we had, that red feds, it ain't what we got on our head, it's what's in the head. The feds just housing. It's the storehouse of the wisdom. That's what it symbolically represents. That's why our tassels spin 360 degrees. It ain't tied down. And we got that green tassel in our body because you know that represents that same light of Al-Qidr, the green one in the Grand Quran, Melchizedek, the green light. Alchemia, the temple guide. This is where you deal with real alchemy, family. Kim and Cam represents your word of power, and this brings you into ascension, defeat, and mastery of the typhonic energies of life. If you don't know what typhoon is, is a statement that actually deals with, dragon or serpent. You hear us talking about Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast, but you become a master of that demonstration, a master of the processes of life, alchemistry. We demonstrated that last night, right? Then you have what we call Ashutaramusa, astronomos, which is Mar, seer, high priest. This is what really make you that Mar. We talk about that Moorish god, right? That high priest of Amun, Mar, right? So this is where you demonstrating with being able to exercise the mastery over air, shu, holy breath. This is what the ibis is. That ibis represent Tehuti. Tehuti is temple scribe, right? Tehuti which is the master word and power that deal with unification. The astronomer before the gates of the gods. Now, the gateway of the god take you back up again into Meru. You see, the Metsu Ra, we was talking about that earlier. Discovery and knowledge of the divine principles and their spirit plan. You can tap into the secrets of the book of creation, the book of the registry of remembrance. Some people like to call it Akashic records. In the Arabic world, in Sufism, they call it al-Kitab, Lahi al-Mazfuz, the preserved tablet. You see? Oh man, we can go all the way into it. Judaism, they like to call it Kabbalah. But anyway, then you have the White Fez degree. And this deals with the King Chamber. This is the 7th adept degree. Safek Nu Pekaru, which is Safeknik Pankara, Propheta, the illuminated one. Ether, Adon, the garden of Adon, Eden, the temple grand hierophant. Ish and Isha, Shu and Ashu, Asa, all set. This is the enthronement. the man who knows the mysteries in full illumination and unification with divinity. So in the page of the exhuming of the nation, the chairman break this down. A lot of people don't know in the book of the Bible, it tell you that Joseph was given a name. He was known as Zephaniah-Paneth. That name Zephaniah-Paneth was a corruption of this exact degree. So the seventh adept degree is what Joseph was given by the Pharaoh who was the Hierophant during his time. Give you that key right there, even though many of our people didn't know that. So it says our barrier is really the entombment of the original white fez of the Moorish Egyptian adepts being changed to red. It says, then finally, the black fez worn to this day. The pure meaning of the white fez is God. But when purity is slowed down by the rate of the atmosphere, it becomes cool to red. But black is a word and not a color. The word means death. The Turks don the black fez because it means that they are the chief morticians of the African god man, whose code name is infidel, heathen, NBC, Hiram Abiff. It says, through Western Freemasonry, some Moorish in the West have been marked with the black fez to denote their continued enslavement. Book of Ali, page 6. So family, we're going to bring it to a close at there. This is a little shorter than normal, but like I said, we know what we're doing, but the work is on us. It's on us to do this work. You see, we dealing with self-mastery over here. We ain't dealing with no mystery. We dealing with self-mastery. And now that we're in the state of mastery of the self and we have the tools, our chairman said all the time, what you gonna do with them? Shoot it or dribble it. Now people can keep going on if they want to tell me, that's hokum pokum and that's pseudo and this. Okay, well, stay over there in that state of mind you is. And let's see how you decline, in your health, as a result of the way you think. Your health is your wealth. You are what you think, people. That's what this thing is all about, self-mastery. The more that we can come into the knowledge of self and be able to heal the self, family, the greater we will become as a nation. But the less that we want to deal with self-mastery, we are a mystery to ourselves, and we will always remain under the conditions that we've been under. We will always be in a second-class citizenship status. We'll always be bucking against self-determination because we don't know God is within us. And we don't know that the Godhead is above our neck. So I just say gratitude, and like I say, peace, love, and law at all costs. Y'all already know how we doing it, family. We're going to keep bringing this truth, and we're going to keep giving it to our people, man. We here to wake them up. We ain't here to lull you to sleep. Even though these are the hours we normally go to sleep, we wide awake right now. We don't get tired. So we want to say gratitude to our family. Islamism without the schism. And y'all already know, we're going to take this demonstration out like we normally do. And let me pull up some of this good music. I got to get back in the lab too, family. I've been doing a lot of things. I've been real busy because I be doing this work by myself. I be painting the whole building, family. I be putting in a lot of work. So I ain't really been able to get in my lab like I want to and do no recording. But we're going to get back in that lab because we got a couple of things we done put together. We just ain't had time, to really, like I say, lay it down. But we will, though. We will, family. So, yeah, like I said, I'm going to pull up something real good right now for us to go into and hear. And we're going to go out on that note right there. I want to give honors again to your family when y'all be checking in, to get this information. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to keep coming. I'm like the well of Zim. I never run dry, family. No matter how much y'all see me give, I still ain't really scratched the surface yet. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let me go ahead and drop this track. separating the world. Remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. And prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. Moorish Cosa Nostra, industrious sex. I cracked the code of Da Vinci, these are actual facts. Angels and demons, Illuminati and Judas goats. Elite minds of our own who turn cutthroat. Espionage and betrayal, 30 pieces of silver. Merovingian bloodlines and Boule house niggas. Who would have figured we'd be sleeping with the enemy? Let us rise and give honors to Nova Drew Ali. We used to say, but I am you, and you are me. Now the reapers your brother's keeper, he's the devil's seed. Cloud chasing and deceive, he abandoned the creed. Desire was his vice, but envy his disease. A fist full of dollars led him to his demise. Front page, it was tragic, a bloody homicide. What profits man if he gains the world but loses soul? Feel the wrath of Allah, he was struck sevenfold. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers, sheiks and emirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. Moorish ties, we span time 700 years. Principalities, world powers, diamond chandeliers, sheiks and emirs, black turbans and scimitars. Allah's will, we prevail as one under God. The seat of power lacks dominion when sultans depart, but immortal virtues shall remain within the people's hearts. True successes are often overlooked and crucified. Sheikh Emilia did his best to exercise his fire. Opposition from all sides forced him underground, exiled from his post but loyal to his crown. He stood his ground, but no one man can defeat the mob. He transitioned in silent historic landmarks. We came as we are, and we are as we came. We came, saw, and we conquered. MAG shall remain. These are divine instructions. Let us unite the nations. Heavenly mandates, self-determination, treaties, consortiums, covenants, holy and divine. Social duties and obligations, proclamation signed. Theocratic, supreme laws, organic design. Creative faith, deliver justice in due time.
You raise up cowards, you raise up imbeciles, you raise up good for nothings. If you cannot do what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die. Can we do it? We can do it. Because any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Let me say that again. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Britain under William Pitt, Earl of Chatham did it. America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you had better die.
Yes, sir. Islam family, peace and love. We love your family, and we on our way out. And y'all get a chance, go back to the video, look it up, and keep dealing with the self and self-mastery, family. We gonna win. We gonna win. Peace and love. Shimotepu.